Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's October 31st. This will be our chart lesson for today, and it's Halloween here um, in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., you might have already had your Halloween, but anyway, it's end of the month, and we're wrapping up another month, about to start November. This year is going to be over before you can blink an eye. I just don't know where it went, where it's going. But the days just keep flying by. But anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. You can see on the daily chart, big bearish day, closed almost on its low. Um, I was a little surprised to see this a few days before the election. Election here is Tuesday. Um, so I was a little surprised to see this big of a sell-off. Although this is not, I mean, for one day, this is a pretty big sell-off considering especially how light the volume's been lately. It was a lot heavier volume today, but usually selling days are like that. So, but we have bounced at this same price level multiple times, so we may bounce tomorrow. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But you can see we've bounced down here one, two, three, four times. Really more bars than that, but we've actually taken off about four times. Actually, one, two, three. So this would be the fourth if we bounce here again. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. We're getting into that oversold territory here, so it wouldn't surprise me if we don't bounce. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. I have no idea what to expect. I mean, I'm really not sure. We had some news items today um, that started this stuff, so maybe the market didn't like the news that came out. I'm not sure. But let's flip over to our 2,000 tick chart and we'll take a look at it and go through the trades. And you can see the news items here. Let me swap this back out. We had the core PCE, unemployment, and the cost index and the claims for unemployment. So anyway, looks like the unemployment claims were up slightly. Employment call, or actually this was just previous and forecast. It doesn't say what the results were, so I haven't seen the results. Um, I usually don't pay much attention to this news other than to be aware of it coming out because you can't trade it. You don't know whether it's going to be bad news can send it the market rallying, and horrible good news can send it straight to the bottom. You know, the old saying of buy the rumor, sell the news is generally pretty true in trading um, because really by the time this news comes out, generally the market's already built in what the expectations. So unless there's some kind of huge surprise, uh, usually the news moves have already happened. But maybe this news today caught somebody off guard. Who knows? We were already in this downtrend before the news came out, so it just confirmed the trend line. So I don't know if that would have anything to do with it or not. And I mean, once you start to understand price action, you see it in action. You realize that a lot of the stuff you learned about trading is just simply not true, and a lot of the stuff's considered that's considered the golden rule of trading is nothing but bunk. And so don't believe everything you hear in trading. Follow the price action, figure it out for yourself, and you'll be in a lot better shape. So uh, anyway, let's go through the let's look at the chart. You can see it was downhill. We got a break and new low, and we never rallied out of there. We just went sideways. And it looked like we were going to rally out like usual into the close. And man, we had this huge sell off. And then it went kind of crazy right here into the 3 o'clock hour, 3:15, like it usually does when everybody's exiting. And the market's closed at the moment. So we closed at 4. We won't open back up till 5. Tomorrow's data starts at 5 tonight. So anyway, there's the chart. You can see what it looks like. Let me back out one more time, give you a big high level look at it. And that was the only real news that mattered was at 7:30. This Chicago PMI. Um, that's more of a medium. I mean, it could still affect the market, but Anyway, let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades. A lot of volume today compared to what we've been getting, but that's probably because there's a sell-off. But anyway, we're rallying here to back to a possible trend line when 7 o'clock hits, and you can't really trade. You need to be flat for this news, so you really had to wait till after this news, which didn't really affect much at the point. But then so really by this bar you could be out 742 or so. You could see nothing much was happening. So when it turned down off this trend line again with this lower high, um, I like going short on that. It actually broke higher and turned down. You might trade that on the engulfing bar. I'd probably just wait for that to close. We actually come back again here. It's just a first entry, not a very good signal bar either. And then all of a sudden the bottom falls out of it. So we rally again here. Notice you get a first entry, second entry, and then you get the second entry gives you a close outside to move to a new high. We turn down right off the key entry point. I mean, it's a relatively low risk trade. I mean, it's 8 ticks basically. So one of the things I did not like about it was it didn't break below on this next bar. You get an inside bar. You could still go short there when it broke below here. They're both bearish. They have equal highs. They're both almost exact same bar. So, but you're probably better off to wait on a lower high. There was a lower high here, but it's really right into the EMA and not much room to the low. So I'd kind of sit tight on that. It's really looking like congestion, but it pulls up and makes another break higher and fails. Again, right at the key entry point. So that's where I would go short, and that one's, again, I think that's 7 ticks right there. So I don't know why this thing stopped showing the number of ticks. It used to show how many ticks. I must have something not checked. I'm going to have to work on that. But I'll work on that and see if I can figure out how to get that to show again. Prices actually broke lower here, failed, turned back up, and then came back down. So the problem here is now you've got a lot of support across here. So if I didn't enter here or here, I think I would just sit tight. It turns out it's a great move down, but it's getting riskier there. So this turns out to be a really nice move down. We get a close outside new low, and then we rally back to the trend line again. And you get a second entry short here. I didn't mark this. I should have at least made it green. I was trying to think about how I really felt about it. But it's a first entry, second entry. It's a third entry. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry, third entry. And that's the first close outside of this trend channel. So I'm a little wary of entering on that one. It is right off the key entry point. This turned prices multiple times, and it is a big bear. It actually broke higher and turned down, and that's a fully bullish bar. There's no stem on either side. So you could even trade that on the engulfing bar. Because there's no close outside, I'd probably wait till this closed and go short down here, but that makes it a lot more risky. I mean, it's like 6 points. So that's like a 24 tick. That's really aggressive. So I think if you enter this, you have to do it on the engulfing bar. And I'd probably just wait for the lower high, which you don't get. So it's moving down. And this is actually a spike and channel down. And then we start working sideways, and we get a close outside here. And notice the new low, and it goes up, comes back down, turns back up. There's a hidden second entry in there, what I call. It's a little more advanced. If that doesn't make sense, it's also a range trade. You can see we're going sideways, and there's plenty of room down there. It's not really congestion yet because you just now got your first body with our first bar with the or candle with the small body. So this is not really congestion. It's just up down bars. So if you got room there, you could take that trade. And we're in a downtrend, so you're better off to go short out of this and hopefully it keeps going, and it does. This turns out to be a pretty good move. But you do get the close outside, move to a new low, and then we're rallying. And now we finally get a break of the channel. And you can see we make a double top up here. You get a close outside and a new high all in one bar. I like going short there. It actually breaks higher and fails and turns down. Again, I think you need to wait for this bar to close. This is mostly bullish, but there is a little stem there. So I'd wait for this to close and probably go short there. There's a lower high here, but it doesn't trigger, and you ended up making this the signal bar. And so that one doesn't qualify, and then this is just congestion here, so you still can't go short. But we run down. You get the close outside of the big blue channel here. You make a new low. A lot of times you'll get two legs, and sure enough, you do get two legs here. And notice you got a new low here, and so you get a first entry, and then it rallies again and turns down, and you get a second entry here. This is an engulfing bar. Honestly, I don't remember if this broke lower. I believe this broke lower and then turned up. So because of where this sits, and I don't really like entering on this bar. And if you did enter on this bar and this turns out to be an engulfing bar, unless you want to take the stop, which probably most inexperienced traders you should move your stop to up here and let this bar close and then put your stop above this bar and then let it play out. That's how I usually handle those if I really like the trade. If I think I just made a mistake, I'm going to take the hit and exit. But yeah, I believe this broke lower and then turned up. But I couldn't swear to that. So it might have risen up and broke higher before it turned down. If it did, just wait on this bar. But if you got caught in the engulfing bar, then I would wait and just trade. This is a second entry and a lower high. And then there's another lower high here, but you got a 3-bar matching low. Really, there's 4 bars. It's starting to look congested. We've already made our low. I would just sit tight. I wouldn't add on anything else there. I don't like anything all the way down here, matter of fact. This is another second entry, but it's just getting so late in the trend. And if you do your measured moves, you already pretty much surpassed that. So I just didn't like entering in this sideways stuff here. But it rallies back here. You get a first entry, then you get a close outside and a new high, and this breaks higher and fails and turns down. I like trading that on the engulfing bar again. Notice how many times, 1, 2, 3, 4 times we bounced across there. I think you're safe to take a short right there if you have enough room. You're really pressing if you wait till down here, so I think you have to enter that one on the engulfing bar or maybe skip it. There is a lower high, which I would say take it if it was a good signal bar, but that's not a good signal bar. This is an inside bar. It makes a higher low here and runs up. And notice that you get a first entry and a second entry. The problem here, you may take this second entry. The problem here is there's no close outside that green channel, and we could get a reversal. So you're living on the edge by taking that one. We're a ways away from the EMA though, so it's a possibility. I would, if you took it, if you're going to be aggressive, that's the kind you want to take, the second entry with the big downtrend, even though it's probably getting time for a correction or a reversal. Prices don't always reverse. Sometimes they just correct sideways, and that's kind of what happened today. We never really did reverse. They just corrected they just went sideways and consolidated. That's not a good sign for a reversal. So you may take that trade. There's a lower high here, but you can't trade that as such. Of course, this channel is working down. You get a close outside, and you just get a first entry, and then we bounce. And you do get a break in 2 legs down, and they're pretty much measured. Um, I think it's risky to try to go long here with all this negativity and downward action. I think you should wait on at least a high or a low, and you don't get one. And this runs all the way back up here. Uh, Never really gets a convincing close outside until here. And then we're just kind of chopping around and finally make a new high. And now you get a lower high um, off this breakout here, this higher high. And this is also a first entry, second entry. So I like going short right there. And this turns out to be a really good move. It just takes off. You probably get a runner on this. Runs all the way down. I don't see any other entries there. You get a break of the trend, the khaki trend channel here. Just a first entry though. There is a second entry here, but you don't have a whole lot of room to these lows yet, and you, I think there's enough room in there to take that trade. You see, just to the low there, it's one and it's 5 ticks. It could get 1 tick more and end up being you got to get 1.5 or 6 ticks to get out. So, it's reasonable to suspect maybe I could still get out. So maybe you take that trade. I'll give it a green. Then we bounce, and of course you don't want to be going short into these lows after we've already touched them unless you get a really good setup. I don't see anything there. And we actually break out again and then get a higher low here after the breakout. So I like going long there. We actually come back and get another chance, but by that time it just looks too congested. So just sit tight. And it does confirm the trend line. Then it runs up, comes back to the trend line again. You get a first entry, turns down, turns back up. So when it breaks above this 2-bar matching high right there, that's a second entry long, and then all that's right off the key entry point. I like going long there, and you can see this is a nice move up. Probably get a runner on this. And I don't see anything else here the rest of the day that I really like. There's a little hidden second entry in here, but this looks more sideways than anything. We just came off the high here, and you would expect us to go back to the low before it goes higher. So even though there is a second entry here, but you can't trade that signal bar. It's just too, I mean, it looks like more congestion. So there's no long there really. And then we turn down. And I don't see any reason to go short off that high other than we're way away from the EMA and we're back near the highs again. But that's risky in my opinion. So I don't think I would take that. I don't even like making it green. I think you need a lower high here, and you just don't get anything you can really trade. And that takes us into 230. So there it is. Mostly a down day, and even once this big bearish trend channel played out, the market could never garner any strength. It just chopped sideways until late in the afternoon. It sold off some more, and there was a big gap on the chart from we opened here, and prices didn't even really attempt to try to fill it. They just took off to the downside. So that's not a good sign when you see that. When it just keeps going and you get a big strong trend channel like this, you're probably not going to fill that gap. You're either probably going to correct sideways, or maybe get a 2-legged correction and start a whole other leg down and maybe attempt a measured leg. So we didn't do that today, but we never really could gain any momentum after this channel ended. We just went sideways until we turned down again. So anyway, that's how I saw it today. There's some fairly decent trades in there. We had a good trend line here to work, so you might have got your stuff done early today, and then you really just had to trade this range the rest of the day. And it's not real clear. These are not consistent turns or anything on either side, so it's a little more difficult to trade. So it's just not a clear-cut channel that's consistently turning off the same highs and same lows. That makes it harder to trade as a range. But there it is again, a big high-level look at it. So not much else we can say about it. So I'm going to wrap up this day and this week. At this point, we'll be back Monday. I've got all my problems worked out. My internet's back. I got my new computer set up. I think I've got all the kinks worked out of it. Our news guard seems to be working properly. That stayed on there all day. Nothing fell off. It turned, it triggered the alarm when it was supposed to. It gave us the correct news. I only have the high and medium coming on, so that's all you'll see on there. And then once it triggers at the time, it turns black after that. And so everything seems to be working properly with that. The only thing, even when it even popped up there when I loaded my chart this morning, so I didn't have any problem with it at all today. Some days it doesn't load when you load your chart, but if you're using the previous one that we just sent out a couple of weeks ago, it works off the same principles this one does. So if it doesn't load when your chart loads, simply wait about 5 minutes and then right click on your mouse on the chart and hit this reload ninja script, and that'll run the indicator again and have it ping the server where we get the data, and usually it'll load it right up. So it's not the indicator that is giving us the problem, it's where we get the data, and they're limiting how many times you can and how often you can ping their server. I guess they're getting overwhelmed with a lot of people just coming there for data. So that's the only place I know that we can get the data. So just be cognizant of that fact and try not to ping it over and over, because if you do, you may get banned and you could cause problems for everybody else too. So just don't ping it any more than you have to, and definitely don't ping it more than once or twice in a 5-minute period. But generally, once you get your data on here, if you go into your settings, I'll show you how I set mine up. You can see it here. I display the news for 600 minutes. That keeps it on your chart all day, so that it doesn't drop off, because it will drop off after 20. I think it's set up to go off after 20 minutes. And I think the one, if you have the previous one, it'll only allow you to display it for 300 minutes, but that's just put the max it'll let you put on there. But once we send this one out, if you use this one, you can set it for 600. And you can see I'm only loading the high and medium, and I'm only refreshing every 12 hours, so only once a day, unless I have to reload or something, which is not very often. Here are my colors the way I've set them up. I think I set this for standard as well with the indicator. I don't see anything else here that's really that important. But anyway, that's how to set it up where this stays on there all day. You may not want yours to stay on there. I like for it to stay on there to do the chart lesson and just to verify back, because I might want to know what this news item is right here and what news we had during the day. And you can't really do that if it falls off your chart. It's hard to keep up with all that stuff. I don't want to be writing it down or that stuff, so I just set mine where it stays on the chart longer. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.